my work is based in drawing. I started out doing pencil on paper, and they got more and more involved and bigger to the point that they started looking like paintings, so then I started making oil paintings. You know, I do watercolor, sculpture, but everything is based in drawing. It's all about the mark, the process of mark making, whether I'm doing it two-dimensionally or three-dimensionally. In the beginning, I'll have a very, very basic idea. And at that point, you almost don't want to sketch it out too much because you want to keep it really open. So I'll do a very simple drawing, like a very small sketch oftentimes. And you know, like I'll do a couple drawings in a sketchbook and I'll think about it. And then I'll start drawing it out on paper and I'll do many drawings. I work on a light box table. So, you know, like I'll do drawings and I'll do overlays because sometimes it becomes very complicated and you can't contain that much information on one sheet. When I start a picture, I'm usually thinking about the elements, like a person, or a place, or a thing, or it could be something abstract, like a pattern, or something numerical or geometric. And you have these different elements, and they're kind of free-floating, and you're thinking, what would happen if I put this element with this element? And what you want to do is you want to get them to react. As you put them together in a composition, you start to have this co-conditional relationship, where the elements act upon each other and they start to change each other and they start to move. And ideally, you know, you go into it and you have an idea of what you think is going to happen, and then you start to introduce all these elements and you have no idea what's going to happen. And if things are working well, it can be very exciting. I'll think of a composition, a very basic compositional shape, and that will be the structure. And then I'll use that structure to kind of engage these different elements. Usually I get the composition down and then I start thinking about color. I think of a spectrum of colors that I want to use for a particular painting. Just kind of painting them out just to see how colors will behave, because colors are very unpredictable. You could put one color next to another color and suddenly they lose their individual identities and they become these demonic entities that just want to fight. So when I come up with a spectrum of colors for the paintings, I mix the colors and I put them into these tubes. This is for a painting called Woodpile I did about 5 years ago. And I just like this green so much that I just keep on using it over and over again. And I'm still making more Woodpile green, even though it's going into all these other paintings that aren't Woodpile. And I save all the paints because you never know when you're going to use them again. So the process of working on the painting, I'm constantly going back and forth between the painting and what's happening on the canvas. And then I'll go into the sketchbook and I'll be looking at the painting and redrawing certain areas. And what begins as a very broad concept or a very rough gesture, it starts to clarify and the gestures become clearer and clearer. And you know, there will be an area in the painting where something strange will start happening and it will suggest something you want to do somewhere else. So you're working on one area of the painting and the grass will start to suggest something that you want to do somewhere else. Or it will start to need something, it will start to express a need. Like the grass will say, this makes a lot of sense, but you're missing something structurally. You might need a twig, or maybe you need the number 17. Like it could be something completely abstract. So there are areas where you want to build up the paint and get thickness so the paint actually has a presence and a physicality. And it affects the way that the paint reads. Even if you have the same color in different places, if it's thick, it will look a certain way. If it's thin, it looks a different way. The pants were way too thick before, and they were just like this static of just too much information. It was distracting. So what I've just done is I've put this thinner blue over to give it like a nice directionality and to kind of calm down all that static movement that was happening in the thickness. Really, the only way I can tell if the painting is done is when you take it too far. There's that moment where you're just about to strangle it, and you're like, nope, that's too much. And then you take off that last move and you know it's finished.